there and welcome back to Japan and to my first ever listen to, therefore reaction and review to Go to the Beds, the Whack artist. And as usual, this is the review video. If you want to watch the reaction, then you have to pause this video and click the link in the description below. But before you do that, I've been criticised sometimes for not mentioning this. I should point out that the video, I think, contains some material that I would regard as for mature audiences. It's not exactly what you'd call easygoing stuff. So don't jump into it unless you really want to see something a little bit Anyway, so if you're ready, here comes the review. If not, then like I say, watch the reaction video first of all if you just want to hear the song, or if you just want to see my initial reaction to the song, because here comes the review. Are you ready? Are you ready? And let's go. All right, so there's a couple of points I want to cover on this. Now, first of all, the whole thing is this opens up an amazing chasm between song and presentation. And the reason I say that is because I have such incredibly polarized mixed feelings on this after hearing this first song by them. Now, to cover what, obviously, I mentioned this in the reaction, I'll mention it again because this is a really important thing. When it comes into Whack artists, I've now heard, I think all but one more Whack artist who I haven't covered. And I've covered some of them quite extensive, done quite a few reviews of groups like Empire, a load of Bish, quite a few Biss as well. Unfortunately, some of these were lost on the previous channel before we had to restart everything. But the one thing that I always say stands out with Whack artists is the fact that they they have such variation, so you can never judge them completely on one song. However, there seems to be an undertone of slightly punky, rebellious, anti the normal system approaches. I mean, the whole thing of it being alternate idol, being different from the sort of cuddly, cutesy AKB sort of virtually no personality approaches that a lot of those groups have. Unfortunately, just being honest there, got to say, I mean, no detriment to the actual girls in those groups, but they're not exactly given an opportunity to stand out. They're kind of forced to be rather uniform in a lot of ways. So I really appreciate what Whack do in that sense, and I appreciate how they are having such a positive effect with groups like Bish. However, I do think that they occasionally run the risk of doing something which is totally detrimental, which is when you go from the... and I think this is where the punk reference is really important. And I will get on to talking about music in a minute, but I want to talk about the image as well, because these things are very tied in with how I feel about this. Shock value works. Shock value can be a great thing. Being rebellious can be a great thing. But the whole reason why stuff like punk was so effective is because of the fact that you felt like it was being rebellious for a reason. It was kind of against a sort of uniform, boring, middle-class culture. That was the whole idea of punk. Bish, and to a degree some things about Bish, but basically the whole sort of starting of the whole Whack entertainment thing, which I have limited knowledge on, but I know what I've heard and a little bit I've read. It had a purpose. It was against that sort of rather uniform, bland, as we say, the sort of conventional pop idol thing that people often reference when they talk about Japan. The problem you've got is that you can go into a level where you're clearly just kind of being shocky for the sake of being shock. And we had this when we were talking about another group. Unfortunately, I've forgotten their name. We haven't covered them since the channel restarted, but where there was a video where it was just kind of a lot of people were kind of stomachs were turned. This felt a little bit like it was going in a similar direction, where there were certain things in the video, like the stuff that they were splashing on the girls. I mean, you can just say it was paint, but I don't think it takes a genius or anyone who's, particularly... I'm pretty sure they knew what they were indicating with that. I knew what the subtext was. I'm going to admit, again, because of quite fast lyrics, I didn't really pick up the meaning of the lyrics. I hope that they weren't as kind of cheap, I think, as that gimmick was. I just kind of felt it didn't work. Another reference that I'll point out was there was obviously the... You can do shock value of this kind, of exactly this kind, and get away with it. For example, the Otsukarai album, which was rather suspectly called Love Jam, which had that cover with her face covered in jam. I think a lot of people knew what the subtext of that was going for, but it was subtext. It could have just been what it literally was. So when I saw this, I gotta admit, like I said, it just took me out of the enjoyment. It felt like, well, I enjoy shock value things. I can enjoy things that are shocking, that are over the top. But when it's just go for the cheapest extreme version of shock. So basically, I'm not going to belabor this point too much, but I felt that the video totally squandered what was otherwise a really fantastic song. And this is the point I really want to come around to. I really liked this song in its core values. Maybe it does appeal to me. I've got a bit of a taste for sort of things that have a bit of a punk and a fusion vibe, you know, fusing punk with different styles is great because you get the whole energy of punk, but at the same time you get to take other sounds and throw them up to that kind of pacing as well. Plus, you know, punk at its best qualities, you know, pushes you to be rather rhythmic with your style of vocal delivery. If you want to do things like that sort of machine gun style of rapid fire vocal delivery. This had a lot of great things. I loved the little vocal refrain that had that sort of weird, like low and then high, low, high sort of thing going on. It was just sort of like weird vocal instrumentation almost. There was some cool little refrains that came around during the verses, you know, the little sort of sing-along bits. The chorus itself, again, had some core punk quality in that it was one of those things where it was so simple. There was nothing complex about the chorus at all, but it just worked. And sometimes doing something that is simple but works is actually surprisingly one of the most difficult things to do, you know. And as ridiculous as it sounds, I think we all are aware of that idea that sometimes the greatest ideas are the simplest ones that it's just hard to think of. Again, I always use reference to things like either the riff from Smells Like Teen Spirit, 4 chords that everyone's played a million times and just somehow they played it in the right way, in the right context at the right time. Or Song 2 by Blur. Those are 2 great references for that kind of thing. So, you know, you listen to this and it just works. It goes through enough variations that it's changing all the time. It's only about 3.5 minutes long, which is relatively long for a punky song, but short by a lot of other sort of standards of other songs that you hear on Japanese radio. It feels like it's punchy, and yet it's always changing. Everything that happens sounds interesting. I love the fusion of how the little synthesizers come in, that beat which is pounding to the point where is it punk, is it rave? This has sort of like a real great mixture of the punky qualities, the melodic qualities of pop, and also some of the slight undertones of like an EDM sort of ravey quality, the way that it's thumping away, and you've got that sort of synthetic element in between, which is a great way of fusing everything together. It gives a sort of thickness to everything above and beyond the guitars. The vocal lines, great. It wasn't just sort of standard singing all the way through, which is fine for the best part of the time, but there were some really interesting choices with the vocals. I got the feeling that this was a song that was not just rebellious and energetic, but creative in the way that it put that across, which to me is, like I say, the total antithesis of the video, which was trying to be punky and rebellious, but instead was not at all clever about the way it did. It was heavy-handed and lazy, to be honest. I think it was lazy. I thought the bit where it dropped out and you heard the live vocal performance, I don't know whether we were supposed to think that was a good bit, but that was the bit where her vocal just sounded really broken, and if anything it made it sound like, are you just playing us a bad take here? Is this supposed to be funny? Like going, look, there's a bit where they're not singing so good as by contrast to the recording. Haha, you're being fooled. This is the point. There was no point to that. It didn't give you nothing came from that. It's like being random is not being punk. If your whole ethos is about being punky and rebellious, being random, playing the takes that aren't so good, that doesn't make you grungy. That doesn't make you edgy. It's just, thanks, you shitted up the video for a few seconds there by taking the song away. I just thought the video was just, it was lazy. It was lazy. It detracted from the song. It took something that I think I would have enjoyed that much more if I hadn't started to be distracted by just how bad the video was. So yeah, for me, this does highlight an issue that occasionally comes up with Whack. I've not found this so much with Bish. Bish can sometimes border on this, but never really have they sort of gone full into this territory by my mind. Even with some of their songs that I know have like really, really, like Non-Tie Up has some like really, the lyrics on that are really kind of strong. But even there, it's part of a song that is working. And it's, I guess if you're a fluent native Japanese speaker, you might find that irritating. But again, I don't know, it seems to be like part of the purpose of the song, whereas a video is supposed to complement the song. And again, the lyrics might be in that direction. Maybe you could claim that if the lyrics of this are kind of like that and the video supports it more than the video for Non-Tie Up supports the lyrics for that, you could say that. But I don't know, just for me, this feels really, really cheap and lazy and detrimental to a really good song. They got a good song and I want to enjoy the song. There you go. So that's my opinion. I hate to say it, but I really want to hear more of this artist because I'm enjoying the music and I can't wait to see what variation to get from it. But I do hope that their other videos manage to achieve something a little bit less crap. No, whack. Something a bit more whack and a bit less whack. All right, there you go. So I'm really interested to know what you guys think about this. Really looking forward to hearing your opinions. Let's get some comments going. As always, my opinion is just subjective, but as always, I try to articulate why I think what I think as someone who's worked with music my entire adult life. So therefore, I want to hear why you guys think what you think, what your opinions on this were. I'm really interested about this one, especially. Like I say, on the last time we had an issue like this, which I can remember the name of that band, you had some people who really, really were just fine with it and some people who were really against it. So yeah, let me know what you think. Get in those comments. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this. You don't have to agree with me, just if you enjoy the idea of us starting a conversation, because all opinions are subjective after all when it comes down to creative endeavours. As always, if you want to get more involved in the discussion, then our various social medias are linked in the description below. The Discord is a particularly great place if you want to get in there and chat with other like-minded or maybe not like-minded people who you can converse with about Japanese and other music. And of course, a big, big thank you to our Patreon supporters, especially, who have kept this channel running so fantastically through so many difficult times. And thank you for making it through to the end of this video and all of the waffle. So until I see you hopefully in Japan soon for the next one of these, for now, ciao ciao.